So, hello everybody. Today what we're going to do is we are going to create a couple of characters, 4 in total, for a solo session that I'm planning. I want to try out the ShadowDark role-playing game that I backed on Kickstarter back in the day. And essentially what we're going to do is we are going to build 4 characters because I want to take them through a solo version of the castle, the count, and the curse. Why am I doing this? Because first of all, I would like to run the castle, the count, and the curse for like a bunch of people, like for a Halloween one shot, and it can be used, and it has been used with ShadowDark, so it lends itself to being used with this particular game system. Plus, I want to learn ShadowDark. And so by kind of grinding through this dungeon in a solo version, I will be able to teach myself the rules and also get to know the module. Now, for those of you who don't know anything about ShadowDark, and probably there is very few people at this stage in the role-playing community that don't know about ShadowDark. ShadowDark is an OSR kind of fantasy role-playing game, but it has some similarities to 5e, and so it's a little bit of a more modern version, but it is very deadly with regard to what we know about old school role-playing. Usually people are very squishy, they die really quickly, and a lot of stuff is left to chance. And as someone said, I think it was Michael Shea, he said, characters don't last, but artifacts and gear do. So it's a lot easier for somebody to survive, to die in a game, but his or her armor and stuff are handed over to the next character, which also means that when you're running this, you would want to have plenty of characters at the ready. Otherwise, there will be players who will be out of the game after about an hour or so. So I'm going to create 4 characters. And the way you create characters is you have stats that you would be familiar with from other games. So you have strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. So it's 6 stats in total. And you create those stats completely randomly. So all your characters are created completely randomly by rolling 3d6 6 times. You don't get to re-roll. You don't roll 4d6 and drop the lowest. You don't get to re-roll once, but you roll 3d6. And normally, how you do this is you would then assign them in the order in which you roll them. So the first 3 dice go to strength, and then the next ones to dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, which means that if you roll really unlucky, you might end up with 6 really strong people. You would have 6 fighters and no magic users because they're simply too stupid. So this is not how I'm going to do it. I am going to create 4 times 6 die rolls, but I am going to assign them in such a way that I can choose the character class in a way that makes sense. This is not quite in keeping with the idea and the philosophy of the game, which is very random. We will see this later. We will be rolling on plenty of tables as we're creating the characters, but this is the one thing which I would also never do to a player, because players have certain things that they enjoy doing and have certain things that they don't enjoy doing, and there's no point in alienating a player at the table by saying, okay, you roll up your character completely randomly. Oh dear, you can only play a fighter because you're very strong, but everything else, you're so stupid and you have 0 wisdom, so you can forget about it. So the only stipulation that is in the rules that kind of mitigates this whole thing is that optionally, and this is a quote from the rules, if none of your stats are 14 or higher, you may roll a new set of 6 numbers. So we'll get started, and we are going to roll using Legend Keeper. So 3d6. First stat is a 12. Oh, well, first set of 3 is a 12. That's a 10. That's a 14. So here we have our 14. So it means we don't get to reroll this character. That's a 13. Doesn't look too bad. That's a 7. That sucks. So it's the 5th stat, so one more. And that is a 5. That sucks as well. So this is our first character. The next one is a 10. A 12. A 13. A 9. A 13 again. And one more stat. Okay, so this one gets to re-roll because I have no stat with 14, so we have to do this again. So that's 11. And by the way, there is something called ShadowDarklings where you can do this online and automate it, but I'm not interested in this. I always enjoy building characters myself because it gives me an idea of what the game is about. 14, here we have our 14. 2 more. That's a 10. And that is a 12. This character is slightly stronger than character number 1. So here goes character number 3. That's a 10. That's an 8. That is a 14. Here we have the 14. That's the 8. That's abysmal. That's a 16. So one more stat to roll. And that is an 11. Yep. Last character. 6. Oh God. 11. 11. 13. 7. One more. And re-rolling this one because we never got to the 14, so trying this again. 7. 6. 8. 9, sorry, 9. 11. 11. And again, no 14, so we have to re-roll this again. 9. 9. 12. 5. 14. Here we have the 14. This is a terrible character, but he's got the 14. And lastly, an 11. Okay, so we have 4 characters the highest stat is always a 14. The lowest stat is a 5. So now we'll have to build 4 characters around this. So I'm just going to move this over a little. Here you can see the stats and how they work. So you get modifiers for the stats, and that's something that you would be used to as well from other areas. And basically, you have the ancestry, which is basically the species, and it gives you additional stuff. Nobody's going to be a goblin because this, you can't be surprised, is such a bad thing, you know, that's unimportant, you know, that's really where I'm like, I've watched some playthroughs of ShadowDark, and the surprised element never hit. So this is a really useless, it seems to be useless in most games, so I'm not going to give them that. And we're going to make a decision what we want. We definitely want a fighter. And this is also something that I would never ever give to anybody. You have weapons. Sorry, this is something that would happen as well. You have to roll on this. So we're going to create our first character, and it's going to be a fighter. And we're going to give them 14 in strength. $13 in constitution. 12 in dexterity. 10 in intelligence. 7 in wisdom. And 5 in charisma. Okay, so now we look at the next thing. What kind of a race do we give them? I believe they will be a dwarf because they get +2 hit points and they roll hit points per level with advantage. So we're going to turn this into a dwarf, a dwarven fighter. And okay. So they have common and dwarvish. And okay, so one question. Okay, so he gets to roll the hit points with advantage. So we're going to see how this works. So he rolls 2d8. First one is a 6, second one is a 5, so that's 6 plus 2 plus his con modifier, and that is 13, and that is plus 1. So it's 9 points, 9 hit points. That's, of course, I mean, that's terrible. 9 hit points. Then we're going to we have plus 1 gear slot. Plus 1. And we're gonna choose strength. Advantage. Basically, how this works is if you do a check here, you roll a d20, but you don't add your modifiers. You just basically then, if you have advantage, you roll twice. And if you have disadvantage, you also roll twice, and then you take the lower, but you don't add your stats, apparently. So, although that doesn't make sense, does it? Okay, we'll find that out. So we're gonna roll 2d6 to see what fighter talents this person gets. 8. That's a 2 plus 2 to strength, dexterity, or constitution. We're going to add 2 to constitution. So that this is a 5, which also means that we're gonna get more hit points. One more. So 10. Okay. So the question is grit okay. So that seems like this is our first then we get to roll on the background 1d20. That's a 17. Minstrel. With your charm and talent, I don't think so, because obviously they have neither charm nor talent in the musical area, but we'll take it. And again, I mean, this is essentially where this system would fall down for me because it doesn't make sense. We have somebody who has 0 charisma, in this case 5. So they have minus to their charisma rolls, but they are a minstrel. So while I understand kind of like the idea behind it, I would say it's not quick to create a character. We're seeing this. And it's also kind of the characters that you get kind of remind me of the D&D board game characters. Basically, for me, even just running through this the first time, these are not really characters. They are kind of cardboard cutouts. That doesn't mean that this is bad, but we have to accept that most people will find this way of creating characters problematic because they build cardboard cutouts that they push around on a playing field. Well, we don't really need to have a deity. It doesn't really matter. So none of this really matters. So we don't really need this. Your armor class is 10 plus your dexterity modifier. We get gold. 2d6 times 5. So we actually have 840 gold. And the armor class was 10 plus the dex modifier, so that's 11 as a base. Okay, and they have minstrel. They're lawful. Okay, so that is our first character. So we want to create a priest. They can use all armor and shields. For spell casting, why doesn't it say what kind of thing they cast with? That should be on this page. It's not. That's weird. What's the stat that they cast with? In wisdom. Okay. So we're going to take a versatile character for this. We're gonna take the third character, so she gets 16 in wisdom. $14 in strength, 11 in dex, 10 in intelligence, and no, 10 in constitution, and 8 and 8. So that's a +2, +1, +3, -1, -1. that is wisdom. And so it gets a +3 to spellcasting. We're going to check the priest talent, 2d6. 7 is +1 to priest spellcasting checks. Okay, so we have 4. She knows 2 tier 1 spells. She can turn undead. And she knows celestial. She has 1d6. But first we want to check what kind of race she is or ancestry. Something where wisdom plays a role. We're gonna take elf. Or are we? No, we're gonna take human. She's gonna be human. She therefore knows common as well and 1 additional language, and we'll make this dwarven. So then she gets to roll 1 more time on the talent roll for the first. See what she gets. An 11, that's again a +2 to strength or wisdom. We're gonna take wisdom for this. So which means that she has a +4 now. So she is now, she has a modifier of 5 for the spell casting. That's not too shabby. She's gonna be lawful as well. Now we need to check her background. '18. She's a scholar. Okay, that does make sense in her case. And now we roll for hit points, 1d6. Oh, we get, sorry, how do you roll again? Well, I'll actually, you know, do this the way it should be done because I think they are too squishy to play the game. I'm just going to give them the full hit die. No, we're going to do it the way it should. Oh, she rolled a 6 anyway, so that was lucky. And the constitution modifier, so she has 6 hit points. And her armor class is 10 plus Dex, which is 11 base. And now we're going to take a look at deities for her. Madeira, the Covenant. Okay. And let's see how much money she has. I'm actually not so... (2d6 plus 2d6 times 5). That's 9, 45 gold. And now we still need to choose her spells. Cure wounds, of course. And turn undead, we have this anyway, and then we're gonna have and we're gonna take Holy Weapon. Okay, then we are going to, that's now our second character. That was a lot quicker. I'll take back that it takes long to create characters because that was really quick. Let's take the next one. So this is Tuck. He's gonna be our magic user, our spellcaster. So he gets 14 in intelligence. He gets 12 in dex, so that he can at least do some kind of maybe at range stuff. Wisdom, we're gonna give him 10. We're gonna give him 11 in constitution. And which means he gets 10 in strength. Oh, 9 is a -1 as well, isn't it? Yeah. -1. Okay. So that's a wizard. And that's gonna be another elf. That's going to be a elf. We haven't had an elf yet. +1 to ranged attacks. +1 to spellcasting. So we're already looking at a spellcasting modifier of 3. And then let's take a look. Okay. Wizard talents, 2d6. 10. Learn 1 additional wizard spell of any tier you know. So we're going to get 4 spells. It's cool. Let's look at the I rolled a 1. Well, I'll have to re-roll the hit points because that's not a 3. That's better. 4 hit points. Let's take a look at the background. 6. Orphaned. An unusual guardian rescued and raised you. Okay. Alignment neutral. And let's take a look at the 2d6 times 5. 6 times 5 is 30. No hit points and no money. Let's take a look at we're gonna take Burning Hands, Magic Missile, Mage Armor, what is the floating disc? protection from evil. Now, I will talk about how magic works when we start playing, but it's very different from any other magic system I've ever seen. Burning Hands, Magic Missile, Mage Armor, and Protection from Evil. Okay, armor class is 11. So that would be that. I don't believe we've forgotten anything. Oh no, we've got one more character to create. Oh, how could I forget? And that is Francis. And I believe I want a thief. So we have 14 as the main. 12 just to be sure as the, and then we have 11 over here. And then 9, 9, and 5. Five is a -3 on charisma. Okay. We're gonna make this one extremely dexterous. We're gonna make him human. Actually, that's the wrong one. Let's close this. Let's not get confused. Human. Okay, so we are neutral because we thieve. Um, no one can read this. So we will have to put this in somewhere else. The armor class is 12. The hit points are 1d4. 3, that's a 4. And 45 gold pieces. And we're going to do the thief talents. We get to roll twice. 8 +2 to strength, dexterity, or charisma. Means +3. And we roll twice. And that's a 6. And then we will add +2 to dex one more time. Background 19, noble. Yeah, like I said, I mean, they simply don't make sense. So I really do not like leaving everything to chance, because one could say, yeah, well, this opens up role-playing opportunities. Yeah, but not in this game, because there won't be a lot of role-playing, because the characters will die really, really quickly. So as somebody said, when you play ShadowDark in a campaign, which some people do, it's not the characters that basically carry the story, but it's the group. And I would say pretty much the players, but I'm going to talk about OSR gameplay and how one can conceive of it, as opposed to narrative gameplay where it's really character driven. Here it's player driven, but I'm going to talk about this in a later video. Okay, so I think we have everything that we need. I will go shopping, but I will do this off screen because this is going to take too long. And then hopefully in a couple of days, we will be taking these 4 adventurers out into the wild to visit the castle and the Count with his curse. And I hopefully see you there. Bye.